I'm out of breath. I have a class tonight, and a test was scheduled, so a makeup test, so I apologize for being late, but I didn't know that we weren't going to have a quorum. So, with that being said, I'll open the meeting, and this is a workshop, right? Okay, a workshop on code compliance. So, Chief and Captain Graham and Crystal, I will turn this over to you. John Burgess is the
official 4:30.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 4:35.
And roll call.
And roll call. I'm sorry. I'm just ready to go.
Councilman Burgess?
Here.
Councilman Shelley? Councilman Williams?
Here.
Vice Mayor Warman?
Here. Barely. Since it is a half an hour later than the meeting was supposed to, Jimmy, I'm going to handcuff you to the chair. I mean, do we have a quorum? Can I go on?
We're okay with a workshop, right?
We're not good with the
Okay. Okay, I'm just saying, since it's a half an hour into this already, that we'd be mindful of our conversation and speed it along a little bit. Mr. Burgess is the chair of this committee. I'll let him decide what needs to be done and what needs to be said. And go ahead. Thank you. Chief.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hit the wrong button.
Crystal looks like she's ready to have the baby any moment. Tuesday, dedication.
We got our fingers crossed. Good afternoon, Vice Mayor, Councilor, City Manager. The last time we spoke at the workshop, I believe that the Mayor and Council wanted to basically look at a couple of photos of code issues we had here in the city to determine whether or not how we should deal with them. And tonight I have Captain Graham and Kristen Oliver here tonight, and they're going to go through a couple of photos, and hopefully through Councilman Burgess, that we will be able to look at the photos and determine how we want to deal with the fines in the city from this point on.
So correct me if I'm wrong then. Tonight is strictly just about the fines. We're not going to talk about the signs as well?
No, ma'am. I think we're talking about just the fines. And
fines, and also kind of establishing priorities in terms of what's important and what's not important. So if you see a particular thing that you consider to be a high priority that you'd like attention, that'd be something that'd be helpful for us to know.
Okay.
The sign piece, we're still in the process of getting some meetings together for that piece.
Okay. I just know that there was some issues that were time sensitive regarding the signs. So, but anyway, I kind of thought this was going to be a combined workshop, but now I understand why not. Okay. Sorry.
Madam Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, just also for procedure purposes, I remember from our last workshop, one of the things, what I remember was that we were dealing with the fines because we needed to address how other municipalities and counties do the fine structure. So were we going to cap the fines? We're not going to cap the fines. I think we discussed some about procedure. I know one of the other things we were looking at was what required a warning, what didn't require a warning. I mean, are those some of the things we're going to discuss, or are we limited to?
Right. In your backup material, you'll see the schedule. There's columns that'll kind of indicate not only what the fines are, but also what gets a warning and what doesn't get a warning. And we were looking for some direction from the council on whether those procedures are fine with you, or if you'd like to change some of those or adopt the package in full, that would be fine.
Okay, Mr. Shelley?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I knew exactly where we were in the meeting, where we were going with it, so I had some focus as far as.
Ideally, we'd love you to say either we like the schedule as it is and go forward, or we like the schedule as it is, but lines 5, 10, and 15, or whichever lines you'd like adjusted, or you don't like the whole thing and we start from scratch. So you really have the gamut here of what.
And the schedule that you're referring to, this is as it is right now in the code?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, proceed.
Good evening, Councilman, Vice Mayor Waldman, I'm sorry, and Councilman
Shelley and Burgess, and also Councilman Williams. We are going to go through with some pictures some of the issues that were brought before the last time. And again, we just want to show some pictures about some of the issues that we give warnings to and some that we don't give warnings to. So Crystal is going to go ahead and present a PowerPoint showing those types of pictures.
Thank you.
Yes, good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. The photos that we have in the display, we have a Y. If you look at this Exhibit 1, which is from the Code Book of the Schedule of Violations, if it's a Y that's indicating for that code violation, yes, we do give a warning for. If it's indicated as an N, that means no, we don't give a warning for that, and that could be subject to an immediate citation. And it also has the schedule of penalties, 200 for the reduced amount, and then maximum of 3, and after the third or more offense, it's 500. So the first one, it is our recommendation. The ad posted on public property gives no warning. It's an immediate citation. And then we have a column that says the council recommendation.
Where is, let's see, I know I've seen that. Yeah, that's got all of it here, so we're going to go one by one through all that. Okay.
We can just, if you would prefer, we can go through the ones that are the no's, since that seemed to be the topic of the last workshop, was the ones that we don't give warnings for. And the ones with the Y, unless you'd like us to, you see any that you'd like us to change, that we have no warning, but the ones that are Y are ones that we already give warnings for.
Okay. Is that agreeable,
That'll cut down the list dramatically.
Mr. Burgess? Okay.
Okay.
Because, I mean, if we, that's why.
To one by one, it's a lot.
Oh my gosh,
We'll
what is
cut
it,
it down, I
9?
think it's about 20 that we don't give warnings for.
9
So,
single space.
yeah.
9 pages single.
So the first one on the list is, and the ones that we have no will have an accompanying photo. The first one on the list would be the ads on the public property. That is something that is not subject to warning. It's removed by the code officer or city employee if we cannot reach it, like that one appeared to be. Then we would give an immediate citation for that. Do you want me to read through the list? And if
Can I
you
just
object-
ask a question on that one?
Yes.
Is there a reason why we just give an immediate citation? I mean, what was the logic behind saying versus we give a warning for this one and then we give an immediate citation for?
The immediate citation, it is considered irreparable and irreversible, and it is corrected by the code officer at that moment.
Okay.
So we don't have, like this one, for rent for sale, we'll buy your house now, those type of things.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Can we shut that door, because we're getting a glare, and it's hot. Is anybody else hot in here, or is it just me?
No, it's warm in here. Or maybe it's just me. It could be.
It's very warm in here.
If we could go to the next slide?
Mr. Shelley.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so are we going to go, I guess, again, back to procedurally, as you read it, I guess are we all going to give a recommendation or guidance? Is that what?
That's what we're looking
Right
for.
here, yes.
Okay. And then I do have a question on the ads on the public property then.
Yes.
I understand the no warning, because again, otherwise, if we always give a warning, then someone puts it up for 30 days, they get the warning, they take it down, and it becomes just a do-nothing warning, I mean, a do-nothing offense. So I understand that. I didn't know if there was a database that they're kept in such that if you gave someone a warning, you know, that's their first warning, they know that that type of sign or that placement of the sign is now illegal. And then the second offense, it would be non-warrantable, obviously, because they'd already been warned that they couldn't put that type of sign up. I mean, what is in...
Normally, what we, and the code officer will explain to someone when they issue them the citation, which is further along in another exhibit, is you have the right to contest the citation. You are issued the citation, you are set at that time for a special master hearing, which is greater than 30 days in advance, so you can appear, and the special master can either mitigate the fine to a lesser amount or dismiss it if they feel like you have just cause.
Okay. And now with this, Madam Vice Mayor?
Yes, correct.
I guess for the city manager, maybe because we're going to redo or we're reevaluating our sign ordinance in general, and would it be better maybe just to leave this one alone and add that one to the end? Because I think it really, for me, it depends on how our total ordinance package be put together for the sign. So rather than try to say yes or no, I'd rather see how we come back with the changes to the ordinance, if any, and then deal with that particular one at that time.
By leaving it alone, though, my only question would be, leave it alone, meaning give a warning first, or leave it alone and leave it the way we have it currently until we decide?
Leave it as is, and then we'll make a decision whether to change that policy when we find out what the new ordinance says.
I have no objection to that if that's the will of the council.
Mr. Burgess, Mr. Williams? It's fine with me.
Okay.
That's why I was hoping we'd have the signs too.
My only thought on this is most of these are just signs that are put up for temporary, quick things. They're not, they really don't fall under what I think we're going to be looking for when we work on the signs, which is for businesses, trying to help them out, getting them in compliance, figuring out what they need and stuff. I think this is mostly the mom and pop
Exactly.
shops
I would say the
or
same
stores
thing.
or businesses, whatever you want to call them, that are just trying to run through town and tag up 20, 30, 40 of them on a Saturday morning.
Exactly.
And then take them back down or just leave them there as litter. So to me, I think, that this, in my eyes, this particular case doesn't fall under what we're looking for, I don't think, in the sign workshop. But it does fall under, truly littering the city with signs.
Although I think what the councilman is proposing is maintain the status quo, so we'll continue to enforce the way we have, and
Right.
until we hear differently, that's going to be what we do.
Yeah.
Which is no warning.
No warning. Right.
It's not gonna, is that okay with everybody?
That's fine.
All right, move
Okay.
on.
The next slide, please. It's for dogs running at large, people that allow their animals to run throughout the streets. We generally do not find it necessary to provide a written courtesy for this action. Now, just to let you know, in most instances, we try to provide someone with a courtesy type warning. However, we do not, it is not something like if you have a pack of 3 or 4 dogs and you let them run at large, that a warning should not be required.
So it's at the discretion of the code
Yes.
officer.
Yes.
I happen, I'll just, as a veterinarian's wife, I'll just tell you that I think that should be really enforced. And I understand if the dog just gets out of the house and you don't realize it, or out of the backyard, but when they just let them run in packs in the neighborhood, that is wrong. So I'm okay with this. I don't know if anybody else is.
Everyone?
Mr. Burgess?
Yeah, I'm fine with it as well.
Okay.
Just the one comment I would make, Crystal, and I think what I was trying to express that morning that we met was, I'm trying to get away from where code officers make a judgment and it's by the book.
Oh.
That way there's no, well, on day A, you said to Bill it was okay, but on day 2, you told Larry it wasn't okay.
Okay.
So I would, in my eyes, and what I was trying to get away is from the discretion. And we have a set policy, and the policy is what it is, and then if people don't like the policy, they have the opportunity to come here to the master. And that's what I think
I
that
agree
we
with
have
everything you
problems
said.
with.
Okay.
Well, that's
Mr. Shelley?
pretty much
I-
why we're here.
I do as well, and that was my concern when I hear you say that it's kind of discretionary. I the same thing. I think we put the rules in place, the rules are enforced uniformly across the board, so there's no claim of selective enforcement or anything to that effect, and all discretion relies at the general magistrate level, and then that person may have you'll at least get a feel for what that person does or does not consider to be more,
Agree.
egregious,
100%.
so to speak, so I'm all for that.
Mr. Williams? Good. Mr. Burgess?
Make our life easy.
And I think that also protects and helps you guys too. If we have a
Exactly.
thing, whoever the officer is wouldn't put himself in a predicament where a citizen or a business owner or something can say something. Because if he's given discretion, then that person may know it, and they're going to lean on him to do whatever. Where if the policy is set, and that's what the policy is, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I've got to go by what the policy says, Here's your opportunity. If you want to take the opportunity to come in and talk with somebody about it, the special master date is in your paperwork. You can come in and do it. I don't have the leeway to do that, and I think that's where we need to get.
That's right.
Okay.
I agree.
And it's good that we're having this discussion on the first couple of ones, because now we know that that's going to follow throughout the entire
Right.
Remaining
That's
18,
my idea.
19.
That makes it easier for everybody in the city.
And I can't speak for my colleagues, but I say that I sincerely appreciate the time that you spent, Mr. Burgess, with code, and so we'll just move forward, if that's okay with everybody.
The next few ones, I don't believe we have a slide for. It all follows the animal violations that we don't give the warning for. Dog not licensed, dog or cat, which really is the dog because cat laws are voluntary. Dog without proof of license, and dog being a nuisance.
Actually, you do have to have a record of rabies for a cat. It's mandatory. I checked on that today.
Not something that...
Just saying. It's not something that we do.
In our code, in our city code, the cat laws show as voluntary.
But in the county, it's mandatory. So,
We can look at that.
Where?
and they carry rabies just like the dogs do.
Yes.
And I've got a few possums if anybody would like to have them in
Why-
my backyard.
Like you say, why in? Either way, Vice Mayor, let us know. Hey, that's why we're here.
I mean, I'm just saying that, you know, I had Murph check with his brother and several of his colleagues today, and is that not true, Murph? The cats have to proof of rabies.
Done.
Okay. Is that a yes? Or, no warning for all three of those?
I'm agreeable with that.
Okay.
Just speak out,
Yeah.
council, because that way I don't have to poll each one of you or ask each one of
The
you.
next slide, please. Demolition of a building without a permit. No warning.
I'm fine with that.
Next slide. Working without a building permit. No warning.
Absolutely fine.
Next slide, please. Damaging city-owned trees. No warning. Okay. Next slide. Improperly.
That basically falls under the other sign.
It also is, yes,
Same thing.
it's a double coverage unless there's other things affixed to the trees. Some people like to get creative.
So you're saying if somebody nails a open house sign or a garage
Right.
sale sign,
City palm trees.
right, then that's a violation. Okay.
Just one quick question. Now, we're not double citing these people, though, for the sign and
No,
for the damage,
you get
right?
one violation.
Okay, that's
That's a
one.
good
You
point.
get one violation. Improperly disposing of industrial waste.
I'm
No
fine with
warning.
that.
Erecting a fence without a permit, that's no warning, but that applies to contractors.
Okay, so this is just...
It doesn't apply to the homeowner. The homeowner would get a notice of violation or a written warning. A fence contractor would not get a warning.
I'm fine with that. They should know better.
Just clarification, so a resident does get a warning, but a contractor does not.
Right.
And the resident would rectify that by just coming in and filling out the proper paperwork or whatever?
Right, they can get the permit. Improper disposal of, next slide? No, next slide. Okay, actually, I don't have the one for commercial or industrial garbage, but these two line up the same. Improper disposal of garbage, no warning. We're talking raw garbage, like
It
food
looked like my
matter.
area, I represent Southwest.
That's not in your area.
It looked like it. Yesterday, it looked like.
That we're not talking about pom-poms that are put out or anything bulk material. We're talking about raw garbage.
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
I'm
so
talking
that
about
would
raw
cover commercial and industrial and residential. That's the diapers and the...
Yeah, oh yeah.
Jimmy, I don't know.
We had a lot over there that yesterday was,
raw garbage that people throw out. Now, generally what the code officer does is, well, not generally, in all cases, in order to find a citation for in order to issue a citation for someone for this type of violation, they have to go through the garbage. It isn't because it's dumped in front of your house and it's the neighbor that put it out in front of your house. They have to find evidence to link you to the garbage, whether it's your mail, your pizza boxes, your prescriptions. It has to have your name on it for it to be considered yours, not just because it's in the swale in front of your house.
Just a quick question. Would you accept a picture? Because I know neighborhoods are getting so angry that they've actually taken pictures of people doing that. You know, would you accept that as a proof of evidence?
With,
Like with a license tag in it, or?
yes. You can take it as hearsay evidence, which is permissible at a special master hearing.
Okay. All right, so everybody okay with that? All right.
Okay. Next slide, please. Illegal dumping. No warning.
Exactly.
Okay. The next one, I've spared you no photo, improperly disposing of a dead animal carcass. That's people whose animals get deceased and they throw them in a trash pile.
That's terrible.
Right.
I think we should double fine them.
The next violation is depicted, it's a raw sewage spill uncorrected. No warning.
Unless you're here, just keep moving.
Okay. The next slide, failing to comply with a minimum housing violation notice.
Now, what does that mean?
So actually, with this one, it's some picture. Next slide. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't have a photo for that one. That means that the owner has been notified that you've had problems at your unit and you have failed to correct it.
No, we've actually notified the owner, not the
Yes.
renters or the
No.
PCs or...
No.
But can you give me an example of what that...
Like your tenant's electric doesn't work, like their outlets don't work, and you've received a notice of violation for it. That's basically what that one is. You've actually gotten a warning on that one.
Yeah, so that's, so there is a warning given, and this is failure
It's
to
just-
respond to the warning.
Right.
That's really what this is.
It gives them the, yeah. So I don't know why they have that. That's in the breakdown in the code, but that's just how the code is written.
Is everybody okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, noise ordinance violation. Normally how we encounter a noise ordinance violation, and this is no warning, is from the police department at nighttime. It's when the code officers are not working, and it's after a police officer has already warned someone to turn the music down, or whatever it is noise that they're making, and they have to go back to the same address. And the person will turn it down for when the officer is there, and as soon as they leave, they turn it back up. Well, the police officer will then have an incident number and send it to us, that this person has failed to turn the music down, or whatever noise that they're generating.
So there, now, let me ask you a question. Now, there's no discretion in that, right?
No.
Because I get calls all the time. And,
If it's reported to us that it's
Right.
a person that they've gone to,
but the police department will have to report it.
the police officer at night,
They don't
have to
report
report
it,
it.
then
We have no way of knowing, just like any other violation. If it happens, at midnight, or we have a code officer that works until 6 p.m. If it happens, and they start their shift at 7 a.m. So if it happens after 6 p.m., prior to 7 a.m., we would rely on the police officer to send us, listen, we've been to this address on more than one occasion. These are who I spoke to. This is usually how it goes. They give the names of who they talked to, who they told to turn it down, and at what time they had to return to the location.
because sometimes I've had instances where it was, it didn't quite get reported to the code enforcement officer, because the police officer did not.
Right. In that case, where you should call it into us, or any citizen calls it into us the next day, that this person was here, I called the police, we inquire to the police officer that responded to that call. So if it shows in the police CAD system that they accurately may have reported, we ask the officer, did you go, was it a noise violation, what happened there, and they say, yes, it was, then we would issue the citation. If they say, when I got there, there was no noise, then we wouldn't be able to issue the citation.
I think what Councilman Williams is referring to, that do we, a police officer, has the power to shut it down before we get to code enforcement that next
Yes.
morning? Am I correct?
Yeah, right,
And the police officer has the ability to shut it down.
And they should.
okay.
I was going to follow up and ask the same type of question, that the police have the authority to. And then-
Exactly.
And as a follow-up to that, though, is when the police officer comes back, so my understanding of the procedure is there's a call for a noise complaint. Police officer goes out there, tells them, please keep it down. Police officer leaves. They don't comply. 30 minutes later, the police officer has to go back out. Now, that's what triggers code enforcement
Right.
to be able to issue a citation.
Yes.
And
If you
if
turn-
that second warning, or even the first warning when the police officer's there, does he inform the resident that they are also subject, possibly, in addition to the police officer being able to shut the whole thing down, that they also
Yes.
could be subject to a fine the next day?
If it's someone that they have repeated calls for service, they let them know that that's when they take their information, they tell them that they're forwarding it to code enforcement, or code compliance, I'm sorry.
And Chief, on the third time in a 24-hour, or within a short period, can't they actually arrest somebody if they wanted to?
Well, we try to do that.
I mean, I understand that that's not where you want to go.
Yeah, but I mean, if
And that, I think that's the third step, though, that
Well-
in a night, isn't it, if they
we,
wanted to?
yeah, we try to, like I said, stay away from that, but if somebody, disobey, then we do what we got to do. And we let them understand that. But we try to not to handle it that way because, people want to have parties
Everybody's a
and
winner.
have a good time, but at the same time, they understand where we're coming from. If it needs to happen, we do what we got to do. Thanks, though.
Do you tell them on the first visit to their home or to their place of business or wherever this is happening, that if I have to come back again, you will be cited tomorrow through the code department?
They probably, I'm just saying it because we haven't done it in a long time, but they probably tell them both. If I come back, we're going to close you down, shut you down for the night, and you will be cited by code enforcement tomorrow.
Okay. I
After the second time.
humbly ask that maybe we make sure that they do tell them that on that first knock on the door, that
Mhm.
if I come back again, you will be cited by the code officer the next day.
Yeah.
That way there's no surprise.
And I can assure you, the guys do that because they don't want to come back again to the same call for the same, same food.
Would that be written into the warning that's given, or do they give them a written warning, or is it just a verbal warning?
The first time we give them a verbal warning. The second time, how do they do referrals now, Crystal?
The police officer gives them a verbal warning.
Okay, yeah, for
Not a
the
written.
first time.
Yeah, the first time. After that, we just give them a citation.
Well, I have a question. If somebody's getting ready to throw a get-together or a family gathering, do they have to come to the city of Homestead to get a permit to do that?
No,
No?
no, only if you have a road closure involved or
Even
some
in
type
the
of
yard?
facility that you rent, but a party in your own home, you don't have to get a
Yeah,
permit.
but I'm saying if it's outside.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh, and it's got amplified sound and all, yes.
You have to get a
Then
permit.
that's not a home party, that's a out your home party.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
Like a
I don't want to say
special
block
event-
party, but,
Like a
with,
special event type
confined.
permit, yes.
But the ordinance says 11 o'clock anyway, right?
Well, actually, the city ordinance doesn't specify a time.
It doesn't?
No.
So you're saying then that these clubhouses in private neighborhoods, they too would need
If they have amplified sound outside of their building.
Like a DJ?
on a patio or
Right.
on a
And
patio?
it reaches beyond their property, like the sound is so loud that you can hear it beyond your property lines, and it's amplified sound outside. By code, you would have to get that type of permit.
But remember now, we do work with the people because it may be inside of a closed-in clubhouse, and maybe the people who live around it have a problem with it. It's not too loud, then we don't create a
I
problem
know
with
that
something
there's
like
many
that.
clubhouses that have special gatherings on their patio area. Okay. All right, I'm going to move along, and let me just have a brief discussion quickly with my colleagues. I'm going to be able to stay a bit, so I see people in the audience. Are we going to be able to have a Cal meeting or not? If I move it fast, if I start it right at 6, well, as soon as we finish with this, can we just roll right into it, or no?
What we have is it's
6 o'clock, the special call dealing with the rezoning of the bowling alley, and the cow is scheduled right after that meeting's done. So the soonest you would be able to do it would be 6:50, 6:10, something like that.
Can I make a suggestion, just as a council, member of this council, that from now on, any meetings that follow one another, not have a time on it, and just say as soon as the workshop is finished, as soon as this is finished? Can we do that? From this day forward? Do I have a, because this is ridiculous, because I'm going to finish this meeting real fast, and you all know how I run meetings. I get them done. So, I do. And this is going to be done, I'm sure, in about half an hour. So we could have went straight into that meeting. So what do you want to do?
You said what
Do
the...
you,
No, I think the question is that I was asking the Vice Mayor is, like, for instance, I know Tom Jones is in the audience. Eric Stetton is on his way down because his contract's on the agenda. And that if you're not going to have a quorum for a COW meeting, we should try to get the courteous thing to do is get in contact with these people and tell them. I know that, but I don't know what's going
you
to
have to
happen.
leave at 6:15?
Yeah, I really rather, I could be here as late as maybe 6:30, but I got to be right out at
I have one other suggestion that might move things along for you is, if you're okay with us just moving the items to the next consent agenda with the understanding that if any of you have any concerns with those items, before we set out the next agenda, we can pull them from the consent and put them on.
So I would just call, I'd have roll call, we'd open the meeting, and then we just, I think we could knock out a couple of things really fast, but
Actually,
I don't
what
know.
he's suggesting is there's no real requirement that every item be heard at a COW meeting. So what he's saying is cancel the COW meeting so you don't hold these people up. And but we will move these items ahead onto the agenda. And then if you want to have a discussion about one of the items, then you can have it. Put them on the consent agenda, but if some of them are routine bids and you don't really need.
But don't I have to open the meeting and get a motion to move it to the consent agenda?
No,
Oh,
we're just gonna do it. Yeah, we're just gonna do it. There's no rule that requires all these items. Once in a while, we have put items directly on the agenda when there's been an emergency or a problem. There's no rule that says they have to go on the agenda.
Am I allowed to ask if there's any item here that these council people have that they wanted to have a discussion on?
Sure. And then we won't move that item forward. But the problem is you can't do it at a workshop meeting, which is where you are.
My favorite thing, change orders.
We can, for example, we could take off the items that are change orders, or we could take off, if there's something that you want to have taken off before the next meeting, we just take them off.
I mean, we've got one change order that's 18% of the total bill, so to me, that's needs a discussion.
So we can not put that on the consent, but put it on a regular, so it'll be a discussion item.
Can we?
Also, even if it's on the consent agenda, any council member or the public can
Right.
pull it off, and
Pull
we
it
can have
off.
a whole discussion about it.
Oh, and how long, what kind of notice requirements? Because we actually moved our council meeting back a week, so we have kind of a week that we wouldn't normally have between the cow and the council meeting. I mean, is there time to notice it and actually still have a cow of some kind, or, I mean, can we put together, I don't know.
The cow you could have like 48 hours now.
Because I think there are some stuff on the cow agenda that probably should be discussed, and I think it'd be better to actually have that discussion.
Well, I think there's two options. Have another cow meeting, or basically, if you just tell the manager, say, okay, these items will just be postponed a month, and you can put them on the following cow agenda.
The thing is, next week is spring break, so I think some people are not going to be here.
Next week is going to be tough.
Right. That's why we moved the council meeting.
Can we take a few minutes and, I also agree with Mr. Burgess about that change order. I'm good with the first part of the cow meeting with the contracts and the standing Annie contract and Eric Stenton's contract. I'm fine with all of that. And to be honest with you, the only thing that I'm not going to say I have a problem, but the only thing that I think we really need to discuss is, for me, is that the reason for that substantial amount of money for the change.
So maybe put that one on the regular agenda, and put the other ones on the consent agenda.
The other one that I got a question about is Roscoe Warren Park, and that's probably going to take a little while.
Okay, so let's put that one on the regular agenda, and put the other one, those two items, and then we'll put the rest on a consent agenda.
I've got questions about everything,
Oh, you do?
so put everything.
Put everything on the regular agenda?
Yeah.
That's fine, we can do that too, no problem. Put them
Yeah,
all on
how-
the regular agenda, and let somebody ask their questions, and that's fine. Or, you know what?
You know
You
how
do
long
whatever
that's
you
gonna
want.
take.
Do whatever you want.
Drop back in front.
Right, that's all.
If we advertised a Cal meeting, today is Tuesday, could we possibly have one Thursday?
48 hours, right?
No, ma'am, I won't be here.
You won't be here?
I know the mayor's going out of town tomorrow, tonight. I don't know who else is away.
It's not spring break yet.
No, I've already got another commitment that night.
How about Friday afternoon? I'm just saying, if we put all this stuff on a regular agenda, I don't know what you already have on that agenda.
Friday's out to me. I've got a career day and other things.
Is there any, is everybody going to be out of town for the full week next week? I know I'll be available from like Wednesday on next week.
No, ma'am, I'll be gone the whole week.
Okay.
I'll be here, but no one else.
I'll be here.
Yeah, yeah.
Just make sure we have dinner that night.
Sleeping bags. Oh, hey, we used to do midnight meetings all the time, didn't we? Ed and Claire and Tim and all of us, and we used to knock it out of here at midnight, 1 o'clock one morning. So, eat your Wheaties and your Cheerios, and I imagine then we'll just postpone everything.
Okay, so just to be clear, what we're going to do is we're going to take all the items that were on the cow agenda, we're going to put them not on the consent agenda, we're going to put them on the regular agenda for the council meeting, and we're going to brew a pot of coffee, and we'll just deal with them. If anybody wants to talk about them, they will, and spend as much time as you want.
Is there anything that's time sensitive that has to be heard before, I mean, on this next or by this next council meeting? Could it not be could all this not go to the next cow? I don't know how long the next cow agenda is going to be either, but is there any way we could just take anything that's time sensitive, put that on the council meeting, anything that's not time sensitive, we go ahead and push back to the next cow?
Because that's only 2 weeks, because we're moving the council meeting up further.
Right, because the council meeting's going to be held, and then almost 2 weeks later, you're going to have another cow. I just don't know how long the next cow's going to be.
Well, I think the problem is we're just going to have twice as many items the next time, and
Right.
if you have, I would prefer, if it's possible, if there's items that at the next meeting you have issues with and you want to table them, then we could table them, but you may find, or defer them, you may find by the 23rd that most of these you're okay with and that there's not a whole lot of discussion. At least we can get them out of the way.
But you could put them all on, and anyone that felt like you wanted to go to cow, you would defer to a cow meeting, and so that way at least you have the opportunity to pass them, and if you don't feel comfortable, then you can defer to a cow meeting.
That's fine. I just want to make sure that discussion's had on things that discussion needs to be had on, and it just, everything's out in the open. It doesn't look like we're trying to put something on an agenda without discussing it. I just want to make sure that everything gets discussed fully.
And keep in mind, every item that's on any consent agenda, you will always have the right to pull that off of that consent agenda and talk about it at any given time. So we're not okay with putting everything on the consent agenda and pulling them off as one by one that you feel is important?
I'm okay with that. I mean,
But Mr. Williams, you're not okay with that? You're okay with that? Oh, God bless you.
He was okay? Oh, he was joking?
No, he wasn't joking, but now he's okay. Are you okay, Mr. Burgess, to pull things off that you feel that's important?
Not really, but I will agree with it.
all of it's important.
Well, of course, all of it's important, but I'm just saying
I
that,
understand what you're saying.
you know, I mean, we can also have time to meet.
I mean,
Work with
I
me.
think it's bad that the rest of us get punished because of some other people don't take the responsibilities of being here and being at meetings. Is not my fault. And
Yeah.
if we have another meeting that goes for 6 hours, so be it. I'm prepared to do that. And if that's what it takes,
Okay. All right, so I think I get the gist. Let's just leave everything off the consent agenda, put them on there,
we'll talk about them. I have a question right now I want to ask. The skate park, is there a particular auction that you wanted to put that on that would be time sensitive? Oh, Dennis, I should be asking.
Vice Mayor, Mayor, and Council. No, what we're going to do is just asking for your direction if it's for discussion, if we can go ahead and put it online. It's not a time problem or anything like that. We just wanted to go ahead and start for procedure and get your all's blessing on it.
Okay, all right, well, all right, so City Manager, you have your marching papers to put everything on the agenda and bring a change of clothes, sleeping bag, and we'll get them done.
And you'll vote on each item individually.
Yeah, because I think Mr. Burgess has a good point. I mean, I have called first thing this morning and said, you know, I have a class, a test, a makeup test I needed to do tonight, and I was ready to go just in case I got that call so that I would know, but I didn't know that it was going to be like this. All righty, we good? All right, so that's our advice.
Thank you.
Now let's get back to the no's and the yeses and the and the 300s and the 500s and the people that make all the noise and for those of you that took the time to come for the committee of the whole meeting, I'm so sorry. I apologize from the bottom of my heart. But come to the next council meeting and we'll have fun. All right? All right. So we'll move forward, Crystal.
Okay, the next one on the list that we don't give a warning for is an open hole or excavation.
Okay.
And the photos above. Next slide. Actually, the sewage code violation does not have a photo. We've already seen raw sewage before.
I'm sorry, Chris. I know you said we were going to deal with the nose, but
yes.
Will we be able to go back over some of the other?
Yes, I have a problem with the yes one that we do.
Just
We'll have plenty of time for that now.
Okay, gotcha.
If there's a yes that you see that would prefer to be a no, let us know. Okay, the sewer code, pretty much the same as the other sewage violation. We don't give a warning for that. Then the next one in the photo is the solicitation without a permit. These are people that walk the streets giving out stuff. You can give out pamphlets and flyers abutting your business, in the right-of-way abutting your business. You can't be a traffic hazard. You can't impede the flow of traffic, but like this gentleman.
So you're saying, I want to make sure I understand this, because I see this all the time. I have things on my windshield from Publix or, you know, different stores that we go to. There'll be things under my.
You cannot do that either.
You cannot do that.
You cannot leave because it's considered litter. If you leave stuff in people's windows, you have to hand your Crystal's Beauty Supply, and you have someone giving it hand to hand. I can't put it in your car. I can't stand out in the middle of traffic with a safety vest and hand it out to people in traffic.
The baseball leagues and things like that, they come in to get a permit, they're okay.
Right. If it's a fundraiser that they have, like usually at 8 in the highway, they come in and they get the permit. The veterans, the last one to get that type of veteran permit was the War Veterans of America. They had a solicitation permit.
So people selling flowers and walking down the middle of the US 1 and stuff like that?
That's no warning.
There's no warning.
That's no warning. That's citation.
And what about, I know baseball teams, you know, they sometimes, I mean, they get their permits and fundraisers, but what about just ordinary, I just see, you know, regular people out there with boxes of candy or, you know.
No warning.
No warning. Okay. Is everybody good with that?
And I think that brings us back to everybody's on the same page then. You know, you don't have you're not putting an officer in a predicament that he might give a certain group a ticket and the other group doesn't get a ticket. If we blanket it and then work off of that, I think we're helping them and helping ourselves.
Mr. Shelley or Mr. Williams?
Yeah, even minors, right? Minors?
You cannot be served with a citation unless you're over the age of 15. So if you're over the age of 15, we can give you a citation.
Okay.
But if there's an adult with them, they can...
Right.
Okay.
The next slide, peddling or hawking without permits. That's no warning.
Now, does that, the little vans that go around town and stuff, does that,
That's considered a mobile vendor. These are people that walk the streets and sell stuff. The most typical time of year that we have that type of thing is around the holidays, around Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Easter. This is the highest complaints that we get from our local businesses because they're here all year long. And then I go downtown to the market and buy 6 dozen flowers, 6 dozen or so sets of flowers, and I get to stand in front of your flower shop and sell flowers with a warning. That's not acceptable to us.
Mr. Shelley, did you have a question?
No, I was just asking the difference between that and the solicitation. It just seems like one's actually selling a product, the other's just handing something out, but it's the same concept.
It's a similar concept. So we also consider solicitation without the permit the people that ask for money.
Okay.
So the peddling or hawking, you're selling a ware, a product.
Gotcha.
And solicitation, you're handing out flyers. Majority of the people that do that are not from around here.
I've had in the past, I've had a lot of calls from the Northwest section about people who just almost run a store in their front yard. I mean, they put a table out there, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like this.
exactly which one you're talking about.
And you know, they'll put a table out there and it's like a discount store. I mean, it's unbelievable.
That would be considered peddling or hawking. If you have a yard sale without a permit, you are given a courtesy. A yard sale must consist of used goods.
When you,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, I'm sorry. When you give like if somebody's doing a yard sale and they don't have a permit and you give them a courtesy, do you tell them to shut down right then and there?
No. Continue your yard sale. Usually we give them in 3 days to go in by Wednesday, come into licensing, get a permit. They explain to them that it's free. Your first 3 ones a year are free. Just come in. They're not told to shut down their yard sale. Okay. Continue to have your yard sale. Just make sure you remove any type of, debris or anything from your yard sale, and before the end of the week, you have to come in and get a permit.
Yeah, I have a problem with that. Because the people that are responsible and get their permits and do it the right way and set up their yard sale and do it in an appropriate manner, if people think that they can just, the heck with it, it's a Thursday, I want to have a yard sale on Saturday, and I'll get a little slap on the hand, and then I'll go down and I'll get it afterwards. So if it rains that day, I won't do it. But the people who have already got the permit and they're committed to having it on that Saturday, and if it rains, and that's what happens.
If it rains, all they have to do is call the building. All they have to do is call licensing, permitting, and tell them you didn't have it.
Well, maybe that wasn't a really good example, but
I can see what you can.
Or if nobody shows up that day, then I mean, I don't know. I just have a problem with that. If we're going to go by the rules, I think that everybody should go by the rules.
Question.
Go ahead.
Do we limit how many yard sales somebody can have a year or a week or a month so that they're not running?
Per calendar year, yes.
Councilwoman Waldman says, a used store out of their front.
I believe it's the first 2 or the first 3 are free. After that, they have to pay $25, and I don't think you can have a minimum. I have to verify, but I don't think you can have more than 4 in a calendar year.
Okay. Now, that answers my question, because otherwise, what you have is people just buying a permit for $20 and running
instead
the store.
of going to the flea market type thing. Yes, we've encountered those people, and those people are cited not a yard sale citation. The first one is $25. If they're given the courtesy for a yard sale on Saturday or Sunday, and they're told to go in by Wednesday, and by Thursday or Thursday they haven't gotten the permit, their citation would be $25. Someone that continually runs a yard sale every weekend is not considered a yard sale. It's considered operating a business without a license, and that would be $200.
And not allowed in residential area.
Right, that's not.
Mr. Sean?
I just, on the issue of the yard sale, I mean, if I were to have a yard sale, I wouldn't have known to come in to get, a
That's what
permit.
most
So
people
for
say
me,
to us, is that they don't know.
Yeah,
Or
I
they're
mean,
given the courtesy and time to take care of it.
Yeah, so I kind of agree with giving the warning, the courtesy warning for a person who's just going to have a yard sale every once in a while, who doesn't know any different, tries to clear out their garage or
Right,
something.
that's
So
what we do now.
I do like the courtesy on that and not being so strict on, for that.
For the yard
Just
sale.
because, again, I sympathize with the residents, my neighbors who want to have a yard sale, who don't know any better. Next thing you know, they've got a fine guaranteed. I'm a little,
Well, I have a question. Is it possible to give a one-time only courtesy?
Courtesies, that's how they work. You're given a one-time courtesy.
So if they do it again 3 months later?
You're not innocent to the process.
Okay, all right.
Right.
I just believe in consequences, so.
All
right.
right. The next slide is vehicle maintenance on the city streets. No warning.
I have problems with this. My
Okay?
area.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad there's no warning.
Oh, you're glad, okay.
I was like, what
I know, what are you talking about? And this is just not, you know, I broke down and I'm changing my tire. This is that. This is,
I could give you about a two-page list, single space, because I ride my bike a lot, and I'm telling you, people working on, what does that mean? I mean, for example, if somebody's in their driveway and they've got the car all torn apart and they're doing, you know, maintenance day after day after day.
no, that's not allowed. What is allowed in a residential area is to do light maintenance on your vehicle. Changing your tires, changing a headlight, not taking an engine out of your car.
So, question.
Yes.
In the alleys, especially in the southwest area, they have a couple shade mechanics.
Right. That they're considered the same thing. You're on a city right-of-way.
Okay. And they have, there's no warning, right?
No warning. We get a lot of them around the discount auto parts type stores and stuff like that. Okay, next one. There's no slide for this one. It's tie downs during a hurricane warning. It's for mobile home parks. Pretty self-explanatory. If a hurricane's coming, you should tie your trailer down.
Isn't that supposed to be done anyway? Don't you have to tie down?
Right. But normally, if it's not during a storm, you would be given a courtesy to get that done. If you are in a storm warning, you do not get the courtesy to get it done.
So a mobile home park can have mobile homes in their park and not have tie downs?
No, but we would give them a warning if that should happen on a regular basis, like in the wintertime and snowbirds come down and they don't tie down their mobile home, you are given 5 days, tie your trailer down, we'll be back. But during Katrina warning, you're not given that, you're not afforded that.
Shouldn't there be some sort of more responsibility put on, I'm sorry, the Cal meeting's been canceled, because we won't have a quorum. So I apologize so much. You missed Mr. Burgess's great speech, but I'm sorry. So everything will be on the council meeting. Everything will be an agenda item on the council meeting in 2 weeks. Okay? You're welcome to stay, though. We're talking about code.
Thanks for driving down, though.
Yeah, especially Eric. He came from Fort Lauderdale. Okay, so I don't know. I did something about that with mobile home parks. It seems to me like there should be a burden on the owner or the manager to not lease a space unless there is a tie down. We could have a strong thunderstorm and have the same problem, you know, with some of those smaller trailers. Just something to think about.
Okay.
Sort of as far as safety goes.
This slide is for the tree removal without a permit, no warning. The next one is illegal structure, no warning.
What constitutes a legal structure?
An illegal structure, like this was a dwelling. This was someone's home.
Yeah, I have a couple of those.
You have a bunch of those.
So if it's built without a permit, it's considered an illegal structure. There's no warning.
Let me ask you a question. Then they would have to demolish it, or how do they correct that?
If it is up to code, they can apply for a permit. If it is up to code, they will pass the permit. If it's not, they would have to get a demolition permit.
Obviously, somebody that's living in this cell isn't going to have the money to demolish.
No, but it's on someone that owns that property.
How about regular sheds? I mean, if people go by sheds.
No, you would get a warning for a shed without a permit.
Okay. All right, we okay with everybody on that one?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Shelley?
Can I go backwards to the tree removal permit?
Yes.
And just maybe give me a little more, what that would require? Is that,
When you remove a tree, you're required to plant trees in its place that would produce the same canopy.
now is this just, because I know there's certain trees that are protected, that you cannot remove under any
Right.
circumstances. So this is if someone went out and planted a grapefruit tree and then decided the grapefruit tree wasn't producing anymore, or they wanted
If
to
it
put
was an established tree, if it was a young tree, now this doesn't apply to dead trees because you don't have to have a permit. Anything that by act of God, like your car somebody runs into your car, runs their car into the tree in your front yard, you can take it up.
But is that, I mean, because I guess my concern is that, you know, again, as a resident, out in my own yard deciding, okay, I want to put I want open space, I buy a boat, I want a place to put my boat, I have too many trees, so I got to move a tree out to plug a boat in or something to that effect. You know, I'm going to get cited for...
You can either relocate the tree to another part of your property, or, like I said, you can plant other trees to make up for the canopy that you lose.
Okay. All right, again, it just seems like you're kind of, I don't know what the code looks like, that's why I have a concern. I'm just trying to get clarification, because to me it seems like I have a yard, maybe I don't like trees, and I decide to remove them all. If it's not a protected
can't.
tree.
You
It
cannot.
just seems like...
It's
someone would know
required
that.
when you build a house to have a certain amount of trees.
Right, but what I'm saying is that it's not intuitive to me to understand this, so maybe this is one where maybe a warning would be necessitated. Now, I know once the tree's gone, you can't necessarily correct it, but at the same time, it just seems like it could be an issue, so I just wanted to raise it.
Yeah, I have a question because right over on Lucy Street, I think Lucy and 7th Avenue, where they put a new convenience store,
Yes.
they illegally cut
They
the tree
did
down,
get a
but they didn't replace it. They didn't.
They did get a citation for doing it without a permit. However, I believe the tree that you're talking about was a ficus tree.
Okay.
So it was given a citation because of the size,
Right.
the diameter of the trunk. But ficus, Florida holly, any invasive species, unless they meet a certain size, are not required to get a permit.
Is black olive?
No, it's not invasive. They're very messy, but they're not
It's
invasive.
illegal.
I have one.
Yeah.
Tree.
They're very messy. So with the tree removal on the permit, is that okay or not okay, or?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. All right, so if you could go to the next slide. Swimming pool barriers without permits or inadequate. That's a health safety issue. We do not give courtesies for that. Next one, I don't think we have a slide for that one, but construction in the right-of-way without a permit. No warning. The next one is illegal signs in the right-of-way, and the difference between these signs and the ones that are in trees these are the snipe signs that are freestanding, and these are given no warning. And it's also corrected by the code officer.
They like election signs, right?
We do give warnings for elections, right?
Okay.
You hate to get that phone call.
You know I'm the one calling you guys.
And usually we're not the ones that put them
I know.
in the first place.
But these are, again, like the 99 signs for $99 that they put everywhere
Right.
in the ground, in the right-of-way. Okay, the next slide, cruelty to animals, no warning. The next few slides, they don't have a picture, but dangerous dog attacks, dogs not classified, severely injures or causes death to another, more on dog attacks, and failure to obtain the license for the dog. This one is repetitive to earlier on, but all of these have no warning.
Now, explain to me, because I think I'm confused a little bit. Are we allowed to have pet bulls?
If you have the required, I believe the county imposes $1 million insurance policy that you're
Right.
required to have, but generally no one ever has it.
Right.
So no.
So
It has to be, I believe it has to be like a rider on your homeowner's insurance for $1 million to keep a pit bull. And if you provide on the scene that you have that proof of that insurance, you can have a pit bull. But it's not like Broward County allows pit bulls.
Right.
Generally, what we tell people is you don't have the insurance, it's not
Can I just
allowed.
get, I know the city attorney's outside, but are you sure that that's legal? Because the last time I had a similar issue to this, I was told that the state doesn't allow you to distinguish between species of dogs.
Dade County does enforce it as well.
Dade County says no pit bulls.
no pit bull?
They tell you that you can have $1 million policy and keep
Does
it.
that comply with state law, though?
I don't know, Alice, are you?
I believe it does. I mean, I don't know that it's ever been challenged. I thought that they were prohibited as of the date the ordinance was adopted, but I'd have to check to see if you're allowed to keep it with a certain amount of insurance.
I've never heard the insurance.
I've heard
The county has the insurance thing.
they talk about, many veterinarians talk about this, but my thing is, there's so many mixed breed pit bulls.
There's certain criteria that the animal control officer,
Yeah.
it's not handled by a code officer. It's generally handled by the animal control officer. And there's distinguishing markers that have to line up with the dog for it to be considered a purebred pit bull.
And
There's many mixes of people, the majority of people that call in say, my neighbor has a pit bull, and in fact, it's a mixed breed.
Right.
There's certain identifying markers that he has to classify it before he can say that, yes, it is a pit bull. And if there is a letter from a veterinarian, if he issues you a citation saying it does meet the criteria, and you have a letter from a licensed veterinarian saying that it is not, then your ticket would be waived.
Yes. And I think it's like 70%. The dog has to prove out to be 30% or better mixed to qualify.
There are criteria. It's not, I look at your dog and it looks like a pit bull, so therefore it is. And like I said, if you have a licensed vet that says it's not, then that would supersede the animal control officer.
Okay. All right, does everybody give us that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and the rest of them, there's no photos for this. It refers to pit bulls, and also violation of dog fighting. You're not allowed to have dog fighting. It has the pit bulls, and hindering or resisting animal control officer or interfering with an animal trap. There is no warning for that. Some people like to damage the traps that are set out and set the dogs free. Okay, so it's okay to all of those. Okay, the next slide, unlawfully connecting to, I'm sorry, the next one is a failure to comply with a lawful stop work order. That is, you've done work without a permit, and we have told you to stop, and you continue to do the job. Then you have no warning for that. You'll get in a citation. The next one is unlawfully connecting to the city utility services. If you look at the photo, there's one meter with a white cap on it. That's a correctly connected water meter. The next one has some rigging going on with some tape and stuff. There's no warning for that. Hindering or obstructing the director or any inspector, no warning. The next slide is setting fire without a permit.
What does that mean?
You need a burn permit in Dade County. It's issued by Dade County to set a large fire. This was set in one of the junkyards. So it's a highly flammable area, and they decided to burn the wood that they had. That's no warning.
How about people that just live on a lake and they have a little fire pit in the back?
No, we're talking the last one that...
Talking bonfire?
No, we're talking the last one, I think that I can remember that the chief brought up was a lady had a dead tree in her yard, so she set it on fire.
That's how you're going to get
Well,
better.
that happened behind my house. Remember that tree that almost burnt down the whole neighborhood?
Right, so especially in times of drought, that can be quite
There
catastrophic.
you go. No, you can't do that.
There was a bee nest inside the tree, and they had this bright idea that they would smoke it out. And I mean, we had every day come fire truck. Everybody was standing outside with their fire hoses. I mean, it was not funny, but and that thing smoldered for days and days and days. anyway.
So that's no warning. The next one is a lack of, this is a minimum housing violation, it's lack of required second means of egress. It's a little hard to tell because the picture is somewhat far, but I'll just describe it to you. The first floor of the apartment building, they bolted burglar bars to the outside. Those were bedrooms. So if you have no way of escape, so there's no warning for that.
What about the bars that are on all kinds of windows?
You can get burglar bars permitted, they just have to have the release on the inside, the single latch release, and that's it.
And in the southwest. Well, I said there's bars on all kinds of dwellings in the southwest and in the northwest.
There are many, and they are allowed. They just have to be permitted where you can escape a fire, that you're not trapped in there. Okay, the rest, minimum housing violation. The next one, we don't have a slide for that one, but windows are not operable or weather tight. That somewhat falls along the same lines. If you can't open your window to get out, that's a problem. The next one is exterior hardware broken or missing. So if you can't close your door, no warning. Failure to maintain pipes and plumbing fixtures from defects, no warning. And this next one we have a slide for is defective sewer waste line, no warning. The next one is tub or shower waste line, no warning. The next one is the water closet waste line, missing, clogged, or leaking. The next one is septic tank not properly sealed, no warning. The next one is non-conforming electrical wiring used to extend permanent wiring, no warning. The next one, failure to continue provided services, no warning. Undersized area being kept as a dwelling space. The next one we have a slide for, overcrowding in a dwelling unit, no warning.
Could you explain that?
The occupancy standards are followed by the square footage in a dwelling. You have to have X amount of square footage for the first person, second person, and so on. When you have, like this one is the living room, where it's mattress upon mattress upon mattress, that is overcrowding. They wouldn't meet the minimum floor space. Every person has to have a certain amount of floor space for it to be considered overcrowding. You can't count the kitchens and you can't count the bathrooms for living space.
So if I have a two-bedroom and 6 kids, an adult, that...
It's broken down by adults in the code as far as how much square footage. The first child, and it is also broken by age of the child. So I believe the cutoff is like 4 and under, they have less space, and the first person or child would have the maximum amount of space, and then to a lesser degree, each one is allowed smaller amount. And for living space, you can count the living room, you can count the dining room. It's not necessarily a bedroom, but you can't count the kitchen or the bathrooms.
Okay.
I have a question on this as well, as far as if you're a landlord and you don't, you rent it out to one person on the lease, and 2 months later they've got 20 people living in there. I mean, granted, the landlord should show up every so often to inspect their property to make sure that that's not the case, but these violations are issued to where the landlord or the actual occupant of the building?
The landlord, the property owner.
Okay, because that's the only thing is that...
And that, with anything else, they have the appeal process of the special master, and Captain Graham can tell you one of the first questions the special master asks is, how often do you go by your property?
So there is, within the code, because I remember this code was enacted probably 2-3 years ago, 4 years ago or something. This was something that was, the underlying code was there, but they kind of firmed it up a few years back.
The addition a few years ago was more than 5 unrelated people. That is a very difficult thing to prove, who's unrelated or not, because we could all be related somehow.
I guess my biggest is just making sure that within this code there is in fact a way for a landlord who maybe was unaware, but who was a good landlord, maybe showed up every 3 months or something to that, to check the inside of the property, or 6 months.
Right.
That they had something in the criteria that allowed them to avoid maybe the fine if they could rectify
With
it.
any citation, you can appeal it, and the special master can ask the code officer as well, have you had any problems with this property in the past? So, I mean, that's usually the coverage we have for all citations that are issued, that they can be waived at a hearing, and they have been.
No, I understand they can. I just want to make sure that there's a process. I don't want it to always be left at the discretion of the general master. I want to make sure that, they're not just randomly saying, okay, we're going to waive it for this person or that person, but there is a procedure they can follow that says, if you do A, B, and C, then it is a way to avoid the fine, or to not have to be fined. Because otherwise, it seems a little unfair to have a landlord who is a good landlord who gets an automatic, $500 fine when he had nothing to do with it, and he was being a good. That's the only concern I have. So if the code provides for a way out, if he is a good landlord or she is a good landlord, then that's fine. But if it doesn't, then maybe there needs to be a warning to the landlord first.
For every, like I said, for every code violation, the special master has several considerations that they take into consideration with a fine, and it's the history of the property owner, the nature of the violation, and the gravity, to the extent.
I have a question as to everybody. Do you have the right to rent out rooms in a neighborhood?
No.
Just no, period?
No. You would have to be zoned to have a rooming house. You would have to have the zoning for a rooming house.
Well, let's just say that, I'll give you a hypothetical, outage is going on at Turkey Point and people rent out their rooms.
It's a very difficult thing to prove, overcrowding. I can tell you that from my experience. Because number one, that you have to be allowed access into the home. And then you have to, number two, have cooperative tenants. And a lot of people that are tenants don't want to move, so they won't cooperate as to say, yes, they actually live here. It could take several months of going by the same house, and you can say, well, they're not living here, but they visit me often. It's very hard to establish residency. This is a very difficult code violation to prove.
Their mail or their license or something changes.
Right. If you have, but then again, you have to have the participation or the cooperation of the tenant as well, because to prove that is extremely difficult.
Is that a warning or is that a?
No. That's what we have under no. For the
That's what we-
overcrowding?
That's, okay, that's all under that?
If that's under overcrowding and the house is actually overcrowding. If it's not considered overcrowding and they're just have a 5-bedroom house and they're renting out each bedroom, it would be considered operating a business without a license. And we do give a warning for that.
A warning for that. Okay.
Okay? The three following are along the same lines of the square footage, allowing the less requirements for the minimum housing of overcrowding. The next one is, that's a no.
Vice Mayor, if you wouldn't mind if I interrupt for a second? Sure. The mayor just called and said that he's en route, and he'll be here in another 5 to 10 minutes. He expressed interest in continuing on with the COW meeting. I mentioned him that we had, I made an announcement, so, but it's your decision.
Well, Mr. Williams is out of here, and so is Mr. Shelley. So we don't have a choice.
I told him I would.
We've canceled it, so how do you start it back in?
Yeah, it's done.
We've already discussed it and we're moved on.
I know.
Great.
Well, Mr. Williams isn't going to be here. We don't have a quorum.
Well, Mr. Shelley's leaving before him.
Yeah, so. I get to take my test another day, though I got my test.
Sorry for the interruption.
And I guess, just for the record, I do have to go. I have a family member who is having surgery in another city outside of here, actually up in the Tampa area. So that's why I have to. It's not that I have it as choice here. I've got to be there for that surgery.
I hope everything goes well. All right. Christina, the town meeting's been canceled. We don't have a quorum, so just you're welcome to stay. We're finishing up our code. Okay.
The next one is failing to provide continuing maintenance and sanitation services. No warning. The next slide is posting sign for garage sale or advertisement on city royal palm trees, similar as before, no warning. The next one, and there's a slide, is failure for the contractor to obtain a permit. And the next ones are all contractor-related violations that we don't give warnings for. Failure to have insurance, abandonment of job, no warnings for any of those.
All right, any questions about the no's? I know some of you had some interest in some of the yes.
And just a quick question, is a contractor, their job is stopped? They don't have any of this?
Yes, the job is red tagged. If they continue to do work with the red tag on the building, they will be given another citation for a separate violation.
Then they have to deal with Tom.
Right.
Lucky.
The next slide, I believe, is also contractor related with the vehicles not being marked.
All
of these are contractor ones. There is a space, and then there's another no. If you could go to, I think it's the next slide. These are the next one. The next one. Okay. These are ones that weren't specifically in the chart in the code before. It just fell under all other violations listed herein. These are specific no's that we have identified that we do not give warnings for. Mobile vendor, yes.
Can we go back to the contractor for 1 second?
Yes.
When a contractor does a job, are they required to put a fence up around the job site?
That would be up to the discretion of the building department. The building official would be better to answer that, just depending on the size of the job and stuff like that.
Tom, could you come up for a second? Are you on duty? The example that I would use is down here on 8th Street next to the child care, where they're putting in a strip mall.
Yes.
And that fence is falling down, litter blowing out of the place, and it just, I mean, it looks horrible, let alone it's not doing it, keeping anybody out of the job site. And so my question is it required? And then secondly, do we have anything, or do we need, or can we discuss adding when somebody's doing a job site, that they put the screen up to help keep the dust and the litter and all that stuff contained in there? I know that I brought this up a while back, and our past city manager said he was going to implement what we had done in Doral or bring it forward, and it never seemed to make it to us.
Vice Mayor, members of council, there's nothing in the Florida Building Code says that you have to put a fence up around your project. It makes sense to do it, just like you had said, but I don't know where it would be unless it be in the code of our own charter, which I do not know if it is in the, I don't think it is. However, if they do put a fence up, they have to maintain the fence to be in correctly. And the site that you're talking about is at the
Little strip mall right
yeah, little strip mall there, right?
14th or
It's on the north. It's on the southeast corner where it was tore down. I have told the owner, Mr. Duclar, I believe is his name. I've told him several times to get it fixed, and if it hasn't fixed, then as far as I'm concerned, we can send code enforcement over there, and they can issue a ticket for maintaining a security fence without security.
Well, I think I would like to see us get some code that states that some sort of fence.
That all, not just fencing, but screening as well.
Correct.
And I see a gentleman that's with OSHA in the back raising his hand, and I wouldn't mind a public comment if Mr.
All right, well, Mr. Shelley has Mr. Taylor, if you want to make your way to Tony, but Mr. Shelley has a comment.
That's one of the committees that I serve on is the code committee. In the last couple of meetings, we've got a few code revisions coming forward. I'd be happy to add that to the list and work with the
If
city
you guys would
manager.
at least discuss it, I think, I think it helps. It protects the city, it protects the people that are building, because it keeps their trash from blowing out, it keeps people from going into their job site as easily, and things like that.
Yeah, my name is Mike Taylor, 1480 Northeast 10th Street, Homestead. That would comes under OSHA. The code enforcement could call OSHA, the building official could call OSHA, because that's what they call attractive nuisance. The kid could go over there falling, get hurt, anything. So a fence a fence is necessary.
I agree.
Attractive nuisance, that's what, just the same thing like a park, anything, I mean, you gotta put a fence around it. So that's will come under OSHA, federal.
Perhaps when you guys discuss it, Mr. Shelley, since I've been told it's in place at Doral, perhaps you could pull what they have.
Sure. Yeah, what I do is I'll talk with the city manager, we'll put together, with the city attorneys, a draft ordinance.
See what it
and
looks
bring
like
forward
out
at
there.
Cal for discussion, and we can expand or contract it as we need to.
And I'm sure Mr. Taylor would be happy to add his expertise to anything that you, right?
Well, Steve said Mr. Shelley said he's working on some things, and I would like to see, so, Doral already has something in place, I'm being told, and that was supposed to have been brought back to me a while back, so perhaps we could look at that.
It's not on my list now, but I said because I'm part of the code committee, I'd be happy to work with everybody to get that brought forward at another Cal meeting as part of, a code revision or an addition. Yeah, no, please follow up with it.
Okay, any other questions?
These next, for the, I'm sorry.
Oh, you have more slides you want to show us?
I just have a few that it's not specified in 7-40 that we, by practice, and we recommend that should not be given a warning. If you keep going forward, next slide. Mobile vendor, no warning.
I agree.
Minimum housing violations, that's not one
Going
of them.
back to the mobile vendor,
Yes,
we give them a citation that day, we tell them they must leave the city limits.
yes.
If they come back a second time that day or stop, what do we do then?
You were given another citation.
Okay, but at what point do we stop the guy from coming into the city?
Well, we can't-
When do we hook him up to a tow truck and take him away to the impound lot?
We have not done that in the past.
But how do you stop it? What's the deterrent?
Usually-
He gets a ticket. You give him 10 tickets, and then he doesn't show up to special master or do anything, he just goes somewhere else, and we don't do anything about him, yet our businesses suffer because he's out driving around town selling stuff.
Is there a consequence when you don't pay your,
if you have property, it can be liened.
I know.
So
You
we've got a
lien your
guy on a little
property.
Cushman
So that's-
scooter that all we do is hand him a piece of paper and he says, okay.
So,
Is there a way to address that? City
One way to
attorney, or-
stop them is if we have known violators, the second or third time, Southeastern Towing or whoever's on the call, hook them
Tow
up,
their
and throw them
vehicle?
away.
Okay, we can look into that.
I mean, our businesses suffer because these people come into the city.
Right.
And that's the major complaint I hear.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if that's legal to do, but at some point, the only way to stop people is to show them that we're going to do something.
We'll have to look into the legalities of towing their car.
I mean, because it just...
We have no problem with it, and I see what you're saying.
Public parking lot selling smoothies in front of Robex. And the girl
Exactly.
calls me.
you're kidding.
No.
That's usually where they do set up, is in the parking lots of, right here, Sedano's, Public,
Smoothies and stuff right in front of Robex.
BJ's, they provide no overhead competition. So, I mean, we can look into what more we can do. We'll look into that. But right now, it's no warning,
Right.
immediate ticket.
But normally when we tell them one time, all they do is just cross the street in the county, and we can't touch them.
Are going
But when they're
towards
in,
city?
we don't have to, but when they're in our jurisdiction and they come back and they repeat and they repeat and they repeat, because I've seen this guy more than one time.
Right.
And, if he just gets a piece of paper and he doesn't have anything to put a lien against, what good does that do us?
Okay, let's
Okay.
move ahead.
Okay, minimum housing violations, discontinuance of supplied facilities. That's when a landlord, normally that's when someone has their rental agreement where everything's included as far as utility service and things like that, or your stove or your refrigerator, and a way for the landlord to get out of an eviction is to take your stuff or shut off your power. So that is no warning. Okay, and discontinuance of utilities, that's the same situation where you don't have water service. The next one is hat racking of trees. That does have a slide to show what that is. That's removing the canopy of the tree. That's considered hat racking. You're effectively destroying the tree.
Yeah, let's move this really as fast as we can because we want to have our special town
Last one.
meeting before we lose our quorum.
And all other serious health, safety violations not listed herein, that has to be just what it says, a serious health and safety violation that may not be listed in the chart. That would be given no warning.
I know we're trying to hurry, but
Go
I
ahead.
need to go back over a few items.
Go right ahead. We have at least till 6:15, 6:20.
Okay.
Is there any way to maybe suspend the workshop, do our special call, and pick the workshop back up? So, because I think there's a lot of discussion that needs to take place.
Do we need?
I don't want to rush it.
We can just do that
Just make
without.
a motion to
Yeah.
All right, motion.
temporarily adjourn the workshop until after the special call.
Mr. Williams make the motion.
Yeah.
Mr. Shelley, second.
Second.
All right, motion carries. Well, got to vote on it, I guess. Madam Clerk.
Dealing with the overgrown lots, what is the procedure in dealing with overgrown lots? Vacant lots, whether it's vacant or a building, what are normal procedures?
The person is cited, usually, the majority, when this was, what we just reviewed is regards to citation process.
Right.
Overgrown lots are usually given a notice of violation, which citations are supplemental to our notice of violation process. They're given a notice of violation with so many days to comply. If they don't comply, they're heard before the special master hearing. At the special master hearing, you're given another set of days to comply. That's for the first time. If you are found in violation, the same property owner, not necessarily the same property, and you're found to be in repeat violation, you've committed that violation within the past 5 years, you are not given a time to comply.
Okay.
It's immediately scheduled for the special master hearing. The special master can either have a choice of to give you some time to comply, and it's usually for people that appear. If you don't appear, your fine can be assessed from the day that you were first cited. Along with that, something of a nuisance violation like an overgrown lot, the city would comply the violation for you if you have passed the time of the hearing. Basically, 10 days after the property is posted, after the hearing, you would have, the city would go and correct the violation. We would cut the grass, pump a pool, if we had to pump the water out of a pool, or board up a vacant building. Those are only the nuisance violations that the city will cure for you.
Okay. All right. All right.
And impose a lien on the property, yes. We don't do it for free.
Okay. Yeah, because I know I have quite a bit of these in my area, and I'm always trying to figure out when they're gonna cut their lots, and then if not, then when do we step in and do it, because it becomes a nuisance. And,
It is.
And it just
It is a nuisance, and like I said, after the property is posted, after it's gone to hearing, it's eligible to be cut by the city. And we put it on our schedule to be
And what
cut.
height do we take over and cut?
I'm sorry?
What height do we go in and mow it?
If it's a vacant lot that's never been developed, the height is 12 inches. So it's very small. And your area, the CRA area, is actually 8 inches.
So vacant lots that have not been developed.
It would be 12 inches. And at that point, it can be cited. At the point of the repeat process is when it becomes much more streamlined. And I think that's what you're looking for.
Yes.
After you have the same property owner with the same violation within 5 years, we do not give them a time to comply. They're immediately cited and set up for a hearing.
Now, I know this is not part of it, but what about the railroad company?
The railroad company is exempt. They are an agency that supersedes us because it's like tiers of government. We have met with them on several occasions to try to talk to them in a nice manner, to try to get them to comply. They advise us they have a vendor that comes down once a year, and if we don't like it, we can take you to court. You can try to take us to court and you will lose.
there's just something so wrong with that, because I remember when I first became a councilwoman and chief, I remember I was trying to find out about code and what was going on, and that just seemed so wrong to me.
Right.
And it's still wrong.
That they're protected under the federal government and we cannot go after
From
them.
where it may be.
So it leaves the burden upon the city to, if the abutting property owners don't take care of it, that it leaves it up to the city to deal with it. And we cannot lien them or fine them.
Yeah, because it comes right through the residential area.
Right. There are certain parts in the residential area that the abutting neighbors take care of it, like the deep northwest, 15th Street and beyond. Normally, the people go beyond their property line and cut the abutting railroad tracks.
Well, that ain't happening in my area.
But it's not, that's the residents that do it.
And there's no, to the attorney, I guess, there's no remedy to force them into anything? No, we can't, obviously, we can't stop their traffic if they want to use the track.
I remember looking into this.
Would you like to come and set up here, because we've lost our time.
Sorry.
They had another meeting that they had to attend to, so thank you very much. And state your name, please.
I think I looked into this years ago, and it may have been here. But Crystal's right, they're exempt. I thought it was state law, not federal law, but it could be either or both.
Well, Mr. Burgess is our representative for the League of Cities, and he holds an executive office there, so he just made a suggestion that might be something that we want to work on through our state. That's good news if that's true, if it's state. It gives him a better leg to stand on.
Because we've had other problems with them tearing roads up and not doing anything either, so, and never not very responsive, so.
We had an issue, I know, in another one of our cities with a sign in the right of way. It was a building and a hedge. So, I mean, if you need any assistance with that, let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can just stay there if you'd like. So easy, we just...
So let me ask then, I'm getting specific now and I'm done. The property that's on Redland Road and Lucy Street, that vacant piece of property, right, there at the corner,
Yes.
how long before, and I think it's in foreclosure.
Yeah, that's
What-
actually bank-owned right now.
So how does that work?
The issue with that is now that it is bank-owned, I'll have to verify that it is the new bank has actually been cited. It is a new property owner, so cannot fall under that repeat violation. It has been cut and complied by the city several times because the prior owner had that repeat status. With the new owner, we'd have to start the new process all over again. I will verify that that is cited, however.
But does those liens, those citations go with the new owner?
It depends on priority of the lien. It depends on when they were initiated the foreclosure process, what are liens, if they took priority to the bank's foreclosure process.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Follow up to that.
Yes, but I want to say something quickly before we lose our quorum, so you go right ahead.
At the corner of Farm Life and East Mallory, there was an overgrown lot. Somebody came out and bulldozed or whatever they proceed to, mowed it, bulldozed. But now what they've done is taken all the clippings or whatever you would call it down and just made a big row, like a barrier around the property. Is that considered mowing? And what is that?
The one that's just north of
Just to the
Eastlake?
east of Farm Life and where Mallory, East Mallory
okay.
comes out there. On the east
That
side.
property, I know what you're talking about, because they were cutting it today. I think they were
Well, it's all
cutting it
dirt,
today,
so
or...
that- No, they cut
No?
it last week, but then the guy came in with a bulldozer, and what they did was they took all the clippings and just piled them up into a 3-foot-high barrier around the lot.
No, that's not allowed.
Okay.
No, because I know that property is cited, it is a new owner that has that. They did foreclose on the previous owner.
Mr. Shelley, briefly, and then if it's okay, I want to just say what I want to say real quick.
Yeah, I just had a question on the overgrown. I just want to get clarification because I heard two different things. Now, if they get to a certain point, the city does in fact cut the lot?
Yes,
Okay, so that is true.
routinely.
Okay, that's right.
We cut, if it's a large lot, like that one that we have cut in the past, that's over in the Northgate area, we would use a private contractor.
Okay, and
If not, we use our inmate crew and lien the property.
And that is a complete process that's written, that's set in stone, that we follow it.
Under Chapter 19 of our code, which is anything that falls under nuisances.
Right, thank you.
Okay, my turn. Chief knows, for years, I've been mentioning this, and haven't mentioned it in a couple of years, but I think this is an opportune time, and that is that I did extensive research on other cities here in the state of Florida and throughout the nation, and many of the cities, because code enforcement officers are so short, and I don't know how you handle all the territory that you handle, Crystal. I really, and Captain Graham, I don't know how you really do it. But I know there's a little city up in northwest Florida that they have retirees that volunteer, and they somehow or another the city manages to give them a car that they pick up at the police station, and they actually ride around. They don't issue any warnings. They don't issue any citations, but they make the notes. They're the eyes and ears of the code enforcement officers, and they give them some sort of a little uniform and a little badge, and they're volunteers. And I just think that it's so important, and as our city grows, we're 62,000 now, how wonderful that would be. And I know there's fine people in this community who would love to volunteer.
I remember when that came up a few years ago, we did inquire with other cities, and it was actually the union, because they are a bargaining unit, the code officers themselves, that did not allow that. They said it 100% goes under their union-protected rights, that they cannot have a volunteer help supplant an employee. So the union, the IBW's position was, if you need more employees, hire them. That's what they said to me.
I think
they are not allowed. They're not allowed volunteers to cover the same position that they have. That's what the last time it came up with it, when we talked about it, because we did call other cities and see their success rate and stuff like that. It was the union that said absolutely not.
And you did find success rate in other cities.
There were some cities that had good, some cities that had bad, but that's with every employee. I mean, but that was the stopping point as far as the discussion when we had it back then, was that the union, no, that they're union employees and they're not allowed to.
Is this the local union? Well, to me, it's not the same position, because they're not, all they're doing is writing down notes on a piece of paper and giving them to you and saying, you know, this lot looks like it's over 12 inches and this house looks like it's over 8 inches and there's a pile of garbage. Yeah, I do it too. And there's a pile of garbage over here, there's a pile of garbage over there, and I just think it'd be a wonderful opportunity.
We do have some neighborhoods that do participate in that unorganized. You know, it's not recognized by the city. There are, like, associations. They have their own citation process, and when they can't get anywhere with the homeowner or they don't comply with them, normally associations just email us a list of properties and the problems that they have. There are established neighborhoods in Homestead that people routinely call in violations.
I would like to go back, though, to the drawing board, and perhaps we could get HR involved in this, Marlene, and see if we can't go back to our union representatives and maybe explain it in a different way and say, you know, we're not looking to replace any positions, we're not looking to, you know, take over anybody's job, we're just trying to get, you know, to lend a helping hand. Chief, does that sound...
It makes sense, but I know...
Pardon me?
Sorry. It makes sense and everything, but, you know, the unions, they who they are. And I don't know if they'll buy into it.
Small town, not a big city.
Yeah, well, I don't want to say it that way, but you're right, you know.
So we're not a small town anymore, and
I know.
we're changing.
Well, see,
we don't change with it, and there's...
See, anytime they think you know, like this union think you're taking away job opportunities or any means to make overtime to make additional money, then they have a problem with it.
Well, I look at this as a way to save people's jobs, because you're helping. I mean, we certainly can't afford to hire any new people right now, but I think that would just, I don't know, do I have the consensus of the council to at least explore this?
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to express, because I got to get going, is that maybe not so specific of a directive for me, but I would like the city manager, who's not here to give direction.
Well, Marlene's taking Ray's over there. They're
I
taking
would
us,
like
I know.
the city manager maybe direction to look into some creative tools that allows us to expand the effectiveness of code enforcement, given the fact that they don't have necessarily enough employees to do everything. They're short-staffed, and so I would definitely direct the city manager to do that, to look into some creative way, and it may be by volunteer, whatever happens to be the case, that allows us to give code enforcement more tools and more resources in some form or fashion to carry out what we have given now.
I mean, like, I can see Winston helping Jimmy. He'd be more than willing to volunteer to do
I'll volunteer. I'm volunteering now.
But you don't get a little uniform.
I don't want a uniform, though.
We'll get you a cap. But I saw it in action. My husband and I, we were riding around and we saw these people on little golf carts, and I said, oh my goodness, this is wonderful. They were helping. They weren't trying to interfere, they were helping. So, safe journey, Stephen, and blessings. I hope everything works out well. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Oh, yes, Mr. Taylor.
Mike Taylor again, 1480. I mean, I'm very concerned about my city, and I live here. And with the influx, everybody keeps saying it's a big city, it's a small city, and this and that. With the influx of people that are coming here now, I think what we should do as code enforcement residents of our community is educate the people that come into our community. I mean, in other words, people are coming from other communities that don't know the quality of life that we have here. So in other words, if we could educate the community, because we used to have a thing they call him, Molly, help me, Operation Street Clean, with Scott Kennedy.
Oh, yes.
Coming and we go out and we get people involved, and the people involved in North Section and all that, well, we're done, they help us clean up. So, in other words, if we could educate our neighbors and the community what we really expect and what we want, and what brought them to begin with to the city of Homestead. Because if it was nasty and dirty, they wouldn't come. So if we could educate them and have them help it keep it clean, I think we'll be doing something. We don't have to wait for the union to tell us how we want to live. The union, none of the union bosses live here. I'm not against union. I'm a union man, but that don't make any kind of sense. Yeah. We just got to educate them, get for instance, Jim, the Southwest section, you got a board, invite the officers down, let them, code enforcement officers, let them teach the people what to do, how to do it. Some people just don't know. They're coming from different countries.
What to look for.
And they don't know what we expect. And I got to applaud the code enforcement officers for doing what they do with the little that they have.
Well, if we can, and I like your style. If they're volunteers, they're volunteers, and so maybe we could do a little community education seminar.
We used to do it.
To give people ideas of, if they want to call and report anything, what to look for, what not to look for, and that kind of thing. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Burgess.
Vice Mayor, yes. I know at our meeting after our last workshop, we had discussed bringing online or looking at the possibility of finding software where residents would be able to go online, file a concern, follow it through the process to see that something was being done and all that. Have we made any progress on?
Yes, we've contacted several vendors, including the one that we have now, to give us demonstrations. We've seen 2 of them already, of what getting that into the step of things to be able to have that capability, because right now we don't have that capability, right. But we are looking into.
One of my thoughts was that if John Q. Public puts a complaint in, and he drives by the lot and he doesn't understand the 30-day process or whatever the time frame is to get everything done, he could go online and look up whatever the case is by the address or something and be able to see that, okay, Crystal went out there, wrote a citation, did a second visit or whatever, to follow up, give him another citation or whatever, but he'd be able to see the process and where it's at, so that they don't think that they're being ignored or that nothing's being done about their concern. So I think that would be a useful tool also for the community. And it would also give guidance to some things that they may not see or may overlook accidentally.
I like that very much. Yeah.
I just have one thing, and I know this is a sensitive topic, but the junkyard over in my area, the southwest area, they just cluttered the whole the city-owned street. I mean, it's a hazard, and I went over there yesterday, and it's a mess. So I was glad that code enforcement was able to send a code compliance officer out there to be able to rectify that. Is there any, since they've already been repeat offenders before, do we have to give them a notice or a courtesy notice for violations that they know is
No.
wrong? Okay. All right.
Let me tell you something. My husband and I used to own quite a large junkyard on, we call it a salvage yard, on Mallory, right? And people were so strict on us. I mean, that thing, you could eat off the floor. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, so I agree with Mr. Williams. There should be no mercy because they know what they're supposed to do. Yep. They know what they're supposed to do.
And the other thing that I know that in the CRA that Mr. Leonard probably sees a lot of is the alleyway that backs up to the off of Mallory and backs up to the train tracks and that stuff. Businesses are using that as their workshops and stuff. I mean, the boat people are out there building boats in the back and things like that. And I think that as we work forward and get this CRA going and do what it's supposed to be doing, I think we need to really make sure that those officers are working with those people in those businesses, the CRA officers, and make sure that we start working and getting this stuff picked up and pay a little special attention to things out there.
Sorry. Thank you, Councilman, for mentioning that. In fact, I'm glad you did. I'm sure Crystal can attest there's several occasions where I've called her and mentioned certain things that, we need to go out. In fact, we've gone out many times and gone down the streets and, she's scribbling notes and whatnot. And I can tell you as of today, we actually, staff has actually done a great job in putting an analysis together of code enforcement in regards to the, not just the CRA, but compared to the city. And I can tell you that pretty much almost half of the code cases so far for this fiscal year is within the CRA. I mean, pretty much somewhere between, we don't know exactly because of the computer system, but I can tell you that the 2 officers, which is 1/3 of the total number of code officers in the city, cover 1/3 of the cases, also considering that the 4 additional officers overlap within the CRA. So somewhere between 1/3 and maybe 1/2 of the cases are in the CRA alone.
Wow.
So, which is a lot.
And as we push the CRA to make it better, we need to make sure that we supply somehow to get those guys the tools that they need to clean up and do, guys and girls, the tools that they need to enforce. And I think the one thing that we need to do is, we see happening time and time again, is the system is circumvented. Somebody will call me and say, hey, what can you do? I'm not doing anything for you. You put an illegal sign out there, you've got to come to the city and do the consequences. I know that I worked with the real estate offices and the developers on the east side of town, and we've got them some signage, and they all came to an agreement, and we're happy. But what we did, the first step that they had to do is they had to come within compliance of what the code said. If that meant taking down every sign they had, that meant taking down every sign they had. But they were welcomed back with open arms. What do you need? It's not like we just shut them down. And we told them, and we all sat there and had 3 or 4 meetings and came up with a formula that worked for everybody. Lennar, Horton,
And that was on the
The
sign.
one guy that won't come to the table, still won't come to the table. But it's worked, and I know that there's a gentleman here with a business tonight, and he would love to get up and talk about signs tonight. And we're not
sorry.
here to shut down and take your signs and throw them in the junkyard. We've got other things we'd rather be doing.
Can you come?
But, you know, what...
Going through the list of that you guys went through.
Yeah.
I know you guys said you wanted to get it.
No, but you've been sitting here patiently, and I don't want to...
You say your name, please? and-
My name is Albert Eros. I'm the owner of Miami Clippers. It's on 1821 Northeast 8th Street. I wanted to know when will you guys be able to go over the signs and what's permitted and so
Well,
forth?
we're waiting.
For the business owners.
That was given to Councilwoman Lobos, and I guess they're still working on it. From what I understand, you know, that's probably a little more complex than what we were on to tonight, but I think they're working on it.
That's fine.
And, but bear with us, but if you've got any concerns, you can certainly email Councilwoman Lobos at wlobos@cityhomestead.com.
Will there be another
I'm
meeting,
sure there will
workshop
be,
like this?
because I'm sure that's going to be a hot topic, you know, and
We thought that they'd both be
yeah, I
brought
was
back
hoping that they
together.
would both be here tonight, but
Okay.
Has there been an initial meeting on, excuse me, Matt? They're in the back. We don't have a cow meeting, so everything's in, I'm the hostess, I'm greeting everybody as they walk in the door. Has there been an initial meeting with code regarding signs?
No.
So then the process is probably going to be longer than we anticipated, but we'll
Not
certainly
going
work
anywhere.
with you in any way.
No, and I know you're there, and I know you're trying to do the right thing, and I certainly do appreciate that. And
Yes, me too.
we're not, you know, like I said, as we work forward, it's not to punish anybody, it's to try to improve things and make everything better and get everybody uniformed at least, if we're not
I agree with you.
exact by the letter.
And it's so refreshing and so nice to see somebody who sat there through the whole meeting and cares and is really patient with us. But we want you to succeed.
Well, as
you
a
know.
business, you know, I'm part of this community. I've lived here for a while. I have my business. My kids, you know, go to school here. Me and my wife, we also work here. So we're proud members of this community. And I've sat here and we've educated ourselves. You guys have educated us a little bit. I didn't even know these things were going on.
Well, now you must come to the next council
You know,
meeting, because that's going to be a humdinger.
But at the same time, I want to know as a business owner, you know, what's allowed and what's not allowed. Because I do spend a certain amount of money on advertising. And every time, you know, and every time I put something up, I've been asked to take it down. And like I said last time, that when you go onto the website and you put up the code of compliance, it's very blurry.
Yeah.
It doesn't specifically tell you what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Now, you
You
guys
know?
do have it's not a monument sign, it's a full standing sign.
A pylon sign, yeah, it's tall one.
Got trees growing in front of it and stuff.
What do you call those
Yeah.
signs?
Do you ever talk to the landlord,
Monuments.
or perhaps you're the landlord, I don't know,
No.
about signage and making better signage for you guys? Or what do they
I'm
say?
glad that you brought that up, you know, and I asked you guys when you all leave here today, as you're driving in your car, you know, and you're on the road, you never look up, you know, you're always looking straight forward. So when you have these pylon signs, you're not going to see the advertising of the businesses. And then on top of that, you know, we have a lot of beautiful trees in the shopping center, and it's obstructing the pylon sign, so you can't see my sign. And then on top of that, you can't really see inside the shopping center, and you're not going to be able to see the channel letters that I have posted above my business. And I have this little A-frame that cost me $250. And that's brought me more walk-ins and more business than a $7,000 pylon sign or the channel letters that I have up on the business. You know, it's a small investment, it's a form of advertising, but it's brought me more business than any other channel letters or pylon sign that's there in the shopping center. And like I said, when you're driving, you're not looking left and right, you know, looking what's inside the shopping center.
And you
But
can't see what's inside that shopping
No,
center.
you can't.
There's just too much landscaping there, I mean.
Yeah, there is.
I would think
Those are the things that we want to work on, you know?
And for other business owners, he said, a lot of people are coming into this community, and they don't know what's allowed, what's not allowed. As a business owner, when I opened up my business 4 years ago, it's true, I don't know what's allowed and what's not allowed. If we can clarify that, and it'll save us a lot of time.
I have a question. When you went to apply for your business license, were you given a package with information in it, such as
That's what I was going to say.
signage or?
No.
So Richard, how quickly?
There's no such thing. And it would be nice. It would be nice, because all business owners are going to advertise their business
Okay.
when they first open up.
Okay, well, I'm
It would be
sure-
nice if there can be some kind of direction where we know, some kind of direction, this is what's allowed, or you can go on, like I suggested, the City of Homestead website,
Okay.
where there can be pictures and it can be very clear.
Well, I'm in charge of marketing, so I've lost Marlene, but,
Yeah, and I think that we can make sure that gets taken. And I think one of the things is we work forward with an interactive
Website?
website
Right.
for
I think now you
perhaps we
can,
can put a window in there for,
what you can do now on the city website, it will direct you to Muni code, and you just type in signs, and the sign code section will come up.
Do we have a lot of pictures? Because I know
No, there's
people
no
go read.
pictures on Muni code. It's a long chart. The sign code is extremely extensive.
It's not clear.
okay. All right, well,
There is a chart that will tell you residential, non-residential, and what's allowed.
Okay, I'm going to ask Jerry to help me on this project, and then, John, if you'll work with the code end of it and get that together, and then Jerry and I will work on the marketing of the city with a package for new people that are opening licenses or
And I'll reach out, and if Councilwoman Lobos, she does a lot of audits and tax stuff, so if she's overwhelmed this time of year, as people in that industry probably are, then perhaps we can move the assignment to somebody else or something, but
Okay.
to try to move things forward expeditiously.
And if there's anything you need, please let us know.
I will. Thank you very much and good night.
Thank you. I just want to close the meeting by saying I want to thank you, Mr. Burgess, for the hard work that you've done, and I know it certainly shows tonight that you put a lot of time into this, and I'm the only one up here, but I appreciate it very much. And I also would like to thank Chief and Captain Graham and Crystal for your hard work. I think y'all do a fantastic job, just a great job. And Crystal, you're due next Tuesday. Boy or girl? A little girl. Your first little girl? 2 boys? Oh, that's wonderful. Well, good luck, and don't stay away too long. I know you're going to stay away for a while, but we know where you live. And with that being said, do I need a motion to adjourn? It's a workshop, so I'll close the meeting. It's 6:27. All right, thank you all for coming.